Thanks for being here, everyone, tonight. We have our friends at Burleigh County tonight. I know we have a great mix of PATH and all the human service zones, so it's awesome to see so many faces out here tonight. And tonight is really all about, it's this partnership that we do, right, to take care of these kids. So it's all about understanding what this partnership really looks like, and maybe understanding some stuff that we don't necessarily see, but how we can be good partners in the reunification process and how we can support reunification even when it maybe feels kind of yucky to us in the moment of it. So hoping to gain understanding and appreciation for the process tonight. Of course, you can ask questions along the way. You know the drill, we have to repeat them for the online audience. I'll do my best to try to keep up with that and field any online questions. I'm not gonna spend a long time introducing anyone. So we've got Nicole, Delaplane, Burleigh County Human Service Zone, Foster Care Supervisor. Did I do it right? Okay, because that's a lot. Peggy Netzer, also Burleigh County Human Service Zone, Case Manager, is that what I call you? Yes, okay. All right, and then Rachel Bailey, brand new Burleigh County Human Service Zone Director. Sorry, it's me. Me. Hope they're not trying to get to this meeting. So a great crew. So yeah, questions. Let's have them tonight. But let's also understand that we want to be respectful in our questions tonight. Also, one thing I wanted to point out is specifics of your case. We're not talking about those tonight, but if you have general questions about situations, you can ask those things. Who wants the mic first? Oh, yes.
Well, I think I get to introduce myself. Well, as Leslie mentioned, my name is Rachel Bailey, and I have been given the privilege of leading Burleigh County Human Service Zone. And I will say right now, I have been 3 weeks into it, baptism by fire. And so it's been a real good learning process for me on how you do things here. Actually, a little bit about me. My parents were missionaries, so I grew up in different countries. And so I got the real taste for serving others and helping those in need at a very young age, and learning about different cultures and just understanding of what all makes us tick. My parents came back to the States, and we ended up in Fargo, North Dakota, and Moorhead and Bismarck. So I am a native of this area. I've been away 12 years in Tennessee. My first husband did hay and oil field out here. He passed away a number of years back, and I met a man on vacation, believe it or not, in a couples resort because I wanted to go there by myself and not be bothered. And I guess he thought the same thing. So I met him in Cancun, Mexico at a couples resort. And he was from Tennessee and I was from this area. And he said, well, I'm not going to go up there quite yet because it's the frozen chosen. And I said, okay, I'll give you 10 years down here. And that's what I did. And I said, man, it is too hot down here. Down there, their heat and humidity in Tennessee is not dry like ours. It is wet. You go outside, you can take 3 more showers by the time you go outside. And so I've given him that time, and we have decided to come back here. I have started a nonprofit organization 12 years ago that works with youth with addictions, families with any type of issues, and veterans with issues. And we use the horse as the tool and agent of change. It's called equine assisted form of mental health counseling. And so I have horses. I love horses. I have 12 of them, and they're coming up here when we finish selling our property. I love to drive a motorcycle. I have a 2008 Harley Davidson Fat Boy Anniversary Edition. So I like motorcycles, and I'm sure you might hear it rumbling around with the others. I love to run and sing and work outside. And so that's just a little bit about me. If you have questions, I will do my best to answer them. But, given that I've been here 3 weeks and I'm trying to put things together, clean things up. I know we've had a lot of different situations that have happened. and we take responsibility for Burleigh County Human Service Zone, but I'm willing to answer the questions the best to my abilities. If I do not know the answer, please give me your email or telephone number, and I will get back to you with the correct answer. Well, welcome. So do you have any questions for me since I am the first one to go? Okay, we haven't worked out on that. What? Yeah, well, let's stand up.
Like Leslie said, I'm Peggy Netzer. I think I know a whole lot of you. There's a few new faces for me, but I know an awful lot of you. So, there's a handout on the tables, right? So, when Leslie asked, and Amber asked about having me come here, it was to talk about the process of reunification and the tools that we use to help guide our decisions and what you as foster parents can do and are doing to support that process. So because the safety framework practice model is what guides all of our work, that's what the handout is. So it defines things for us like safe child, unsafe child. I'm not gonna read the whole thing to you. But the bottom part of that first page where it says safety plan determination, that's what we as foster care case managers look at. When we have our child and family team meetings with you, those are the things that we go through in our paperwork. Is there a place? Is there a place where this child can be with their family that is calm and consistent enough? So is the place safe? The next one, are the parents or caregivers willing and able to participate? That means, are they able and willing to do what needs to be done to keep that child safe? And then the last one says, are there sufficient resources available? So those are the things that we put in place in a home when we're doing a safety plan. So the supports, things like a parent aid, grandparents, neighbors, friends, foster parents, other organizations that they might be working with, all the things. So we look at those 4 things, and if we can answer yes to all of that, we can do an in-home safety plan. If we have a no, that's when the kids stay in foster care. And we keep working on the things that have been identified that need to be changed before we can move forward with reunification. So on the back is the whole process. So the first 1, 2, 3 happen before they get to us. That's really the CPS report and the CPS assessment, the safety plan that gets implemented before a child is removed from a home. The PCFA, that's our first interaction with the family. So some of you have had kids in your home much longer than we've been using this system. And so that PCFA seemed like it maybe didn't quite fit, right? But when we have newer cases that come through CPS now, that PCFA is a really great tool for us as case managers to really work with the families and identify what are the things that they are really good at as parents. And I guarantee you every single one of them has something that they're good at, right? When we look at the kids we have in care, they all have something really amazing about them. And most of the time, all the time probably, that came from a parent. So we look at what are the things that those parents are really good at. And those are their strengths, and those are the things that we have to start with when we're working. Protective capacities, thank you, Nicole. We call that protective capacities. So we look at enhanced protective capacities. Those are stuff they're good at. And then we look at diminished protective capacities. Those are the things that we have identified that they probably could do a little differently, right? Those are the things that we use to, huh?
We need to increase their,
Right.
their protective capacities that they're low in. We need to increase, help them.
Yes, so the diminished protective capacities are the things that we use to create their goals. So case planning, that's where we write the goals. We come up with the tasks. That's the thing that we always come back to. So what is it we're asking them to change in order to have their kids back? So diminished protective capacities lead to goals, tasks, case planning. After that first meeting, we used the PCPA, which is Protective Capacities Progress Assessment. So essentially it evaluates the case plan. Where are we at on the goals? How are the parents engaging with us? What are they doing? What are they not doing? And case closure, it's my favorite. No, just kidding. I mean, it is, but case closure is really our goal, right? We all want to get to that point where case is closed, whether it's because the kids have been adopted or because they have, you know, returned to their biological families. We want to get to that point as quickly as possible where we have a resolution so kids aren't just in limbo. So case closure, we get there however way we get there, but it's important for you as foster parents to understand the tools that we are using to help guide our decision making.
Yes. Just to reiterate, and I've got some great staff that I'm working with. But one thing I struggle, and I didn't maybe share this, is I've been doing this for 26 years in different capacities, but I also was a foster parent for many years. When I was here, I worked with Charles Hall Youth Services, but that is no longer. But I had 8 teenage girls from age 13 to 18 in a big house. Now that was a house full of hormones, come on. And then you think living with one woman is tough, try 8. And so, and then also through Tennessee and then through Fargo, I was a PATH parent in Fargo. And then just recently in Tennessee, we had one graduating, he was 21. But the hardest part I had was this family reunification sometimes because I didn't necessarily always agree that they should go back, but I saw the importance of them trying to keep in that home. And also, as Peggy mentioned, you know, the closure and the getting them back and the goal setting and the planning was important. I saw the importance of that and working with that reunification. And I then from that perspective could see how much and how important it was that it did work, or that they got adopted, or the families learned new skills to be able to handle and work taking care of their children.
Can we raise hands?
Yeah.
I want to know how many in this room have been part of a successful reunification. Okay, that's pretty good odds. All right, so when we're
How many cases I've had.
yeah.
Then your odds are not as well.
I just want everybody to have had an experience once, right? So then you know when we're talking about it, exactly what we're saying. Because I have learned there are a lot of foster parents who have not been through a reunification and don't have an understanding of the hard stuff that comes with that. A lot of people, and probably you all, when you had your first reunification process and you're in the thick of it and kids' behaviors are getting a little crazy, right? They have those regressive behaviors. And you're like, what is happening? This is supposed to be a good thing. And I think that is a surprising moment for a lot of people. And then we come in and say, that's actually pretty normal. So I just was curious as a whole, what your experience was. So I guess to talk about what can you as foster parents do to support reunification, because it is always our primary goal. I don't know if everybody's aware of that, probably you are. Reunification is always our #1 goal when kids come into foster care. Our goal is to get them back to their biological family. That's regulated way above me. So what can you as foster parents do? Number one thing is to come into it with an open mind. Come into it with an open heart and know that your job as a foster parent is not just to keep that kid safe in your home. It's also to bond with that kid and provide support for that kid, hopefully long-term. So even after they go home, they have that safe, stable adult still in their lives, right? That's why you guys do this. I know a lot of you are really good at this because I've worked with you. I've been in your homes. I've seen what you have done. Some things that we do to support reunification, we provide whatever comes up. So when we talk about that, those assessments, the PCFA, the PCPA, the things that come up as needs, we find a way to sort of fix the problem, right? We all, foster parents, case managers, bio parents, Nicole, our regional person, we all come together in our team meetings, therapists, everybody, and problem solve around those needs. So if transportation is a need, we figure that out. If parents need support for their mental health or addiction issues, we figure that out. If they need support and assistance finding housing or employment, childcare, we figure it out. We have parent aides who we can put in to help not only develop parenting skills, but also help them connect with resources in the community, because none of us can do everything, right? So as a team, we all have to look at it together. I think that's important for you as foster parents to know that you are a valued member of that team. Your input is important. You should be at child and family team meetings. You should be communicating with the bio parents, whatever your comfort level is. It's up to you, but we really do encourage that because, I mean, it helps a lot, but it's really important for the kids to see bio parents and foster parents not as two separate things, but as safe adults who care about them and are working together. So they don't feel torn. They still feel a little torn always when they go back, but to know that they still can maintain that connection with their foster parents is huge. Oh, Leslie has a question.
How far before a team meeting should you be notified the team meeting is occurring? Can team meetings be changed if you absolutely cannot attend them, but you really want to be a good partner and attend?
Okay. I will say that we try very, very, very hard to notify you at least 2 weeks ahead. It's probably not going to be more than that. But we try really hard. Sometimes there's glitches. There's like, hey, a lot of things just blew up and you're not going to find out until a week ahead. Hopefully not the morning of, but I know that that has happened to some people. We like to give you 2 weeks because then you can have it on your calendar. You can work your schedule around it if possible. And if you can't adjust your schedule around it, you have time to communicate with us so that it might be possible, can't say it will, but it might be possible for Nicole to move it to a different day or time. A lot has to go into that because she has to coordinate all of them, but we try our very best 2 weeks ahead. Yes, it's important for you to be there.
I don't like, but it's really loud.
No, you have to for online.
I have to for the online, I'm sorry. So I have been licensed in Cass County as well. And I'm just gonna share what they do. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but they, so you know that you're gonna have a child family team meeting every quarter. So they kind of go by the alphabet and certain caseworkers are always the third Wednesday of every month. And and Cass County has the highest volume of foster kids, and it is, at your team meeting, 3 months from now when your next team meeting is going to be. So I'm just throwing that out there as an idea that with almost 100% certainty that your case manager is always after 2 p.m. on the third Wednesday, and that's how they schedule them, so 3 months in advance for team meetings.
So that same case manager.
They own the slot.
They own, yeah, so they basically, that you might be spending the third Wednesday of every month in team meetings all day long, and that's it. That's all you do that third Wednesday of the month is team meetings back to back all day long. Now that puts a lot on the supervisor, but the supervisor doesn't always have to be at the team meeting. I'm just throwing that out there.
I love that, because 2 weeks is really hard.
Very hard, yeah.
And I really wanna be there.
Yes.
Well, in Nicole's defense, she does put it on our calendar way more than 2 weeks in advance.
I appreciate your honesty.
You're right, I do not.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean. Right, we're gonna consider that, right? Something. Nicole's our designated, no taker. I'm just gonna run the microphone.
I don't know exactly how to do it, but they have that.
I hate missing team meetings too.
Say your name, because we're close enough.
Okay, I'm Lori Gazier, I'm with Burleigh County. And I hate missing team meetings. So I try to write a report of how the kid is doing in different areas. Like I have the same categories, on my Word document of social, sleeping, food, academic, blah, blah, blah. And then I just submit that to the social work.
Well, that's a good idea.
It's you, Vanna.
Let's go first. You're setting the bar high for all other senators.
Hi, I'm Kelly Crowley. My husband and I are with Burleigh County Social Services. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of rip the Band-Aid off here. I think there's probably foster parents in here that are kind of trying to figure out how to paraphrase this question, and I'm gonna come off as very professional as I can.
Just shoot it.
Okay, we've been hurt, and that your office has been wounded.
Yeah.
What is your value placed on foster parents? And I encourage you to say that you are foster parents, so that's very encouraging. What is your view? I want you to just be honest with us. Do you view us as people just taking care of the child till things can get figured out? Or do you value what we have to do? Like we have been asked to be in contact with the biological family. And she was with me at the last meeting. We have, and we haven't, just due to our family needs. But what do you as a director value with everybody in here that is a foster parent?
Excellent question, Kelly. That's a great question. Being a foster parent and the way that I value you, I'm getting to know everybody, but I value you as same as I would value myself. You are very important. You're not just a stopping ground to me. This is my opinion. To me, you're not just a stopping ground, a stepping stone, or anything like that. You are a very valuable asset to me because you are caring for these kids when no one else will. But you're also a leader. If you look at it, you're also a leader to help lead the families if they're going to be working together. You're working together to build skills and help them. You're also a leader. You don't have to be like in my position or any position. You are a leader and you are a guy. So you are, to me, a very valuable asset. I don't like to use that word, but you are an asset. And I'm just like you. I have done it before, just recently, last year. And so didn't agree with the 20-year-old, his mental capacity was less than that, but we had to reunify him with a father that was on drugs and alcohol. But that was challenging for me, but I knew the importance because he loved his father and he loved his family. So in long and short, you're a valuable asset. I guess I'm not dumbfounded by the question, but I don't know how else you'd be viewed. In my opinion, you shouldn't be viewed as anything else but an asset, a leader, and a great
part of the community.
We need to hear that just for the fact that we're asking to recruit people into, because we are hurting, everybody knows we're hurting, and we know you have more than enough homes. And how can I effectively recruit?
How can I effectively recruit somebody into this fold, knowing something might happen that's gonna jade them or scar them or just turn them off through the whole process? So if I can say, I asked the director this question and this was the answer, then they can go back and say, yes, it's a new day, it's a new lead. A new trickle down of how things should do. I'm not talking about these two, of course, but I'm saying, you know, it's been a very long process. We've been in it 6-7 years, and it's been from 6-7 years ago. So we need to come out and encourage people to do this and not have reservations to do it. Also, you are a valuable voice. And if you cannot voice your concerns or opinions or your thoughts honestly and objectively to future foster parents, then we aren't doing our job correctly, in my opinion. You know, I'm different. I'm not what was the past. I'm trying to be the present and the future. My leadership style is different. My views are different because I've been exactly where you are at. So I view it differently. I don't view this job as power and authority. I view it as a privilege to lead. That's just who I am. That's how I've been made. That's how my parents raised me. And that's how my Heavenly Father asks me to lead, with care and compassion and thought to what we're doing, of not just me in this position and my staff, but of also how it affects you. So you have to believe in us. And if you don't believe in us, you cannot be an advocate. And again, you're also an advocate.
Well, you're hired.
I would say our foster parents are our greatest advocates, honestly, because if they can't go out and tell people why they do this, then we don't have anybody to take these kids, let's be real. Like, if they can't be our advocates, we're done, we're sleeping at the office.
Sarah Stoll, and I'm a foster parent, and that's the hat I'm really trying to wear. And those of you who know me know I wear 2 hats, and so I struggle sometimes when I come here because I work for DHS and I'm a foster parent. And I had the privilege of being on the interview and hiring panel that selected Rachel, and I will just reiterate the reasons why we chose her is because we saw that empathy and compassion and that caring heart and that really valuing the people she works with, the people in the community and partners. That's really what helped us decide that Rachel was the right fit for Burleigh. And so I will just, you know, I guess reinforce the things that she said about herself that we saw as panelists through a multiple interview process. And for me, you know, I have that advantage. I think in the interviews, I was there wearing the DHS hat, but I could also sneakily put on my foster parent hat and say, how's this gonna work with foster parents? Because that's an important part as well. So.
Good job. Well done.
Who's next?
Behind the back.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm actually from Emmons County, so I'm a little trek up here. I guess my wife and I, my biggest thing is you guys work so hard for the biological parents and give them so many resources. When we ask for resources, what can we get?
That's a good question.
You're a natural facilitator.
Thank you. Who wants to answer that? Okay, so I'll say from the foster case manager perspective, we can offer you as foster parents whatever you need. Right? Foster Parent Association is an excellent resource for everyone. But no, for real, whatever you need as foster parents, tell us, and we will figure it out with you. You got it, you can go tomorrow, Shauna. Oh, you didn't say pay for it.
That's a great question, but my mind goes like, not that why you're asking that, but why are you not getting resources? You should be getting the same resources that the biological parents are getting because you are doing the job of training and working with that child to be a better person in society, or helping them learn coping skills. Or I remember I did have a foster child, well, back then we couldn't really touch them, but we learned this behind the back to bring them down if they were having, we can't do that anymore, but you know, and so you should have the same resources as the biological parents. If you are not getting that, then we are not doing our job correctly, in my opinion.
So you're from a different zone?
Is the gap tribal?
Yeah, he's not ours.
That's so, well, then that makes,
That's,
then we can't, yeah. Now I know more. What's great is in this county in the same zone.
No,
Tribal kids.
It's in
And it's county.
same region.
Or region, right?
our zone, Mary Jo, is just Burleigh County. Our zone.
So with that,
So with that, I mentor a lot of foster parents, and I know that this couple is close to my hometown, but that's one thing I think we all need more information on is information of these kids come from the other county. And a lot of these people don't realize, I know like this couple here, you wanna talk about how they put their foot forward and probably haven't got paid for 6 months of daycare. On and on and on. I mean, you listen to their story and you wanna say that these are good people that have stepped up and don't do it for the money, but are paying a lot of it out of their pocket, which how many times do we get calls from the county to take their kids? And then you take them and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we're not reversing daycare. They're both teachers. So you wanna hear their side of the story. We need more, something from that county. And I try to warn people to say, just be aware that if you're paying $1,000 daycare bill, and you can't pay it, you might not get paid 2-3 months.
Can we just clarify though, it's tribal, not the county?
It's
So
tribal,
it really
tribal,
doesn't
sorry.
matter where you're at, it's the tribal.
It's the tribal, not the county, it's the tribal, so, but they have a very good story if you wanna hear more about that.
There was a question in the back. Oh, you want to answer that? Good.
Try my best.
So JD Pratt, I'm the foster care licenser, but also a path parent, adoptive parent, and all other titles. But we do have a tribal placement as well from Standing Rock. And the biggest thing that prevents those resources or the payments from happening is the lack of communication. And I've learned that try your best to get a hold of the case manager and then move up from there. And if you need to, from the case manager going to the foster care licensor down there, who usually is pretty good about getting back with you, but lately, I think she's been out of the office a lot, because I haven't gotten as many requests for placements, and I know that they're still there, and she's the one who normally does that. So going from there to the director and just letting her know, and I know that we don't want to go above people's heads all the time, but it seems like that might be the best route just because they are so overwhelmed that sometimes just getting the director in the know helps the process. I'm not gonna say that's 100% of the time because they've got so much stuff going on, but that's been my experience. And so that's my 2 cents.
We were told the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, and that was from a tribal person that came to our home. Yeah.
So I want to say to Mary Jo's point, if you have Burleigh County kids and you're not getting reimbursed in a timely manner, that means there's something wrong somewhere in the process. So don't wait 2 months to say something to us. If your payment isn't on time, tell us right away, because the sooner we know, the sooner we can fix it.
sorry, I was foster, I had baby.
I know.
I
Hi, my name is Nicole, and we had that placement for 3 years in Penny, but that's kind of beside the point. I'm just, I guess, communication, I mean, so we're aware of what we're kind of getting ourselves into. We are in a small unit and taking on kids from our unit wasn't ever a deal. We were, friends with our social workers, and so getting into this and taking kids from other places was kind of a shock for us because things work differently. So it's just kind of maybe being aware that not necessarily every unit runs exactly the same. So I guess that's where we're going.
We had a question in the back. So, sometimes we do a reunification and we send kids home. And something happens and it falls apart and they come back. How many of you have experienced that? Okay, so almost as many as experienced reunification. So I want to make sure you know that when that happens and they come back, we have to start from scratch. We don't get to just pick up where we left off with things. We have to start from scratch because it's essentially opening the case new. The only thing that counts is, you guys all know about the 450 days, right? So if it's within that 600-day period, the 450 days accumulates, but everything else we start over.
Oh, you just answered it.
Wow, look at that. Come on, reader. Who is next?
Okay, so I don't wanna contradict you, I really don't, but
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I know, because I said I'm not gonna wear my department hat tonight. So the thing that I wanna stress is there's a difference between like when a court order in shelter care expires versus when you can reunify. And if you can reunify, you don't have to wait for the shelter care order to expire. So if you reunify, let's say it expires December 31st, and you reunify in October, and they come back 2 weeks later, you can do a trial run and still maintain custody of that child as the zone, and they can come back and you're not starting over, you're still in the same court order. I know, but I think it applies.
So the difference is, we're still in the same court order, same period is what we call it, service period. If we close the case,
Yes.
court order is done, we no longer have custody, we're not involved in any way, that's when we have to start over. So, thank you for pointing that out. If I were the case manager, absolutely, because those kids already know you, they're familiar with you, they're comfortable in your home, it makes sense to me, this is like a no-brainer that you would try to put them back where they feel safe.
Yeah, I always have a hard time with, I did, husband and I,
is we've had some kids that have come back. I didn't agree that they'd go back, but you can't say much to the court, but yes, we're supposed to reunify, and I totally agree with that also. But I struggled with the fact that why would we be bouncing them to different places? That causes more trauma on the kids. And so as Peggy mentioned, by all means, they should go back to that foster parent where it was at for the best chance of that child and knowing that and less trauma, in my opinion.
we do between counties, between zones. That's, restate the question.
What?
So, I'm in Mandan,
Okay,
and I have a kiddo, and their parents moved to Bismarck, and they do reunification, and it doesn't work. I don't get a phone call for them to come back to me, provided I want them to come back to me. They go to a house in Burleigh County now.
not always.
I lived that where that didn't happen.
We would definitely look to see their previous placements and attempt to call those foster homes. The part where it gets a little tricky is that we have to be respectful of different zones. We all share foster homes, but we still need to reach out and just say, are you okay with us contacting this foster parent? So we would make every effort, we should make every effort to look at all the previous placements, but we also have to be in contact with the other zones.
So I think you guys know me, but I am a part of the foster care licensing redesign, and so this is gonna look different in the future. The plan as of right now is to try to have things more congruent as far as having foster parents across the state are all on one team, which we are anyways. But when it comes to looking for placements, when it comes to us as licensors in the future, when my job shifts to the state, we're gonna have that option of going back and looking at the entire state and not having to worry about stepping on toes when it comes to different zones. And I know one thing I can speak to as of right now, how things are going. I've had times where kids come back into care. I want to put them in the same home, but I've used that home. I've got them full again. And I'm like, I really would like to do this, but it doesn't work because they've got 5 kids and they had 2 kids before when these kids came back. So that's the other struggle I have as a licensor. And I know the case managers have that too.
So do all of your guys' systems talk to each other? Like when a kid comes in, you put that kid's name in, does it pop up if that kid is in care somewhere else? Or?
So Mary Jo's question is, does it pop up in the system where the placement was? Yes, but
Or that they were in foster care?
yes, it does. However, if the foster parent was in Mandan, I wouldn't have as much information about them as I have about you. So I'll have what it says in the system is their name, their address, and whatever phone number they provided when they were licensed. May or may not still be accurate. You, I know everything about you, right? So it's easier for me as a case manager to call you and say, Mary Jo, can you take this kid? Because I know what your situation is.
Not so much me, but the child.
Right, the child, yes, we can see all of their past placements, whether it's relative placement or foster care placement or kinship or whatever situation they were in, trial home visit, all of that goes in there. Yep. Or like if they're at the boys ranch or something. Hold on, I promised her I would come back.
Hi, I'm Sierra with Burleigh County. Okay, so JD, you have like a folder in my email and I try to check them and I'm behind. So if you answered this already, I'm really sorry. But I saw that there were some changes with judges, like one of the judges. So is there an update as far as if that will back courts up at all? Is everything kind of continuing? What's that?
We got a new judge. So
Sign the paper.
so she, Judge Newsom is transferring out and the new one is transferring in. There is a little backlog as she gets up to speed on things, but it should be a pretty quick transition is what we're told. There's already a backlog with the court, as I'm sure all of you know, because of COVID, when we weren't having hearings. So that time period of not having hearings is still with us because we're still catching up. So.
I'm asking as a foster parent, just so I can make you answer a question. So what is the typical turnaround when it comes to court orders? So we know, because that affects payment.
Excellent question. It used to be when we had court in person, we would leave the courtroom with the order signed. Since we're doing Zoom court, sometimes we get it within a couple days. Sometimes it can be a couple weeks. It can be a month or more. It's really impossible to predict. I will say the simpler the cases, the faster the turnaround. If we have something big where it's like the fact and findings is 8 or 10 pages, that takes a lot longer to get to us than a shelter care order.
Do you typically let the foster parents know when these court orders are delayed, or do you just take the brunt of the payment issues?
If we know that the court order delay will impact payment, Nicole, let the foster parents know. Nicole always says, let the foster parent know, once we figure it out.
My expectation is that the case manager would let you all know if your payment's gonna be delayed. That's my expectation.
But
We don't always know.
I received a few calls already, and I received a few calls already from those with separate issues, so I just go and I know we're all busy and a little bit short-staffed, I just go and ask the person working on it, oh, yep, okay, I got it, I'll take care of it, and they go from there, and then they talk to the foster parent, so there is a way that we are all trying to continue to streamline to make it better.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. Why is there a month delay on a signature?
It's not just a signature.
What?
So they have to type up the court order too, and it has to be processed. I don't really know, because I don't work report for the court, but there is a delay.
That sounds like a good topic one night to have courts have.
You should, yeah, Amber.
You should probably let them know that they get their paycheck on a certain day every time.
And we do, so we as case managers,
You expect us to provide a service, but then we have to go looking for our money for that service.
right, so we, as case managers, when we are in court, there are certain things we have to make sure get into that order. And so that's our responsibility, to make sure that order comes to us saying the words that it has to say. But we can't control the speed.
And if a court order comes through, it's my job to review all the court orders to make sure that the needed language is in all the court orders, because if it's not, then the maintenance payments can't be made. So if I see an order that needs a correction, I have to talk to Mary, our state's attorney, and it needs to be corrected before I can enter it into frame. And that results in a late payment. So just know that sometimes errors get made on the court's end, but we have to have those orders correct for payment.
And I will say, back to the other reimbursements, if you don't get your payment when you're supposed to get your payment, tell us right away. Because the sooner we know, the quicker we can fix it. We can't, obviously, make it not happen every time. We don't always know when there's something missing. But we do our best. And if you are supposed to get a payment and you don't, please communicate that wherever you are, whatever county you're in, communicate that to your case manager right away. Because there's obviously something wrong at some point of the process. There's a lot of things that go into it and a lot of things that are required to be in place in order for them to process a payment. And so sometimes it's as simple as us checking a box. Sometimes it's a whole new court order, but we don't know if you don't tell us that it's missing, unless we've contacted you ahead of time and told you that there might be a delay.
This is totally off topic from that, but this list you gave us, is there a time frame you give families to get back on track, or is it case by case? What does that kind of look like?
Well, everything is case by case, because every single situation is different. For us, we have a requirement that within the first 30 days that a kid comes into foster care, we have to hold our first team meeting. Okay, so that means within the first 30 days, we are doing that PCFA with the family. We're doing our case planning. We're also at that point, you all know because you've taken kids, at that point, we're also getting kids into services. We're getting schools set up. We're getting parents into services. Amber's giving me signals. We're going to the eye doctor. We're going to the dentist. We're going to health tracks. We're doing all the things, right? So that first 30 days is really a critical time period. After that, we have our team meetings every 3 months. So every 90 days, we're reviewing and looking at progress. We had a quality review, that's what it's called, right? And so we have started to add at 6 months, if we're not making like good progress, we're starting to add concurrent plans sooner. We are starting to request review hearings more often than we did before, so that things are not stalling out. So case by case. Oh, good question. She said, what is a review hearing? So review hearing is our request to the court, or any party to the case can request a review hearing. It's really just an opportunity to go back in front of the judge and give an update on where everybody is. It's helpful because the judge can write requirements into the order. So if there are things that are ongoing issues, right? So let's say a parent has had no contact with their children. At a 6-month review hearing, the judge might write in, you have 90 days to set up regular visits with your kids. And then when we go back for our next permanency hearing, we can we have a little more, meat to it, right? Because the judge said, you need to do this, not just us saying, you really should see your kids if you want to take them home, so. Oh, good. Do you want me to say your question?
Okay, with that, you just brought it up, so how can the state's attorney or your
Not enough information.
not
on
enough
a case.
information on the case, and then the parents have not had any visits, and they just say there's no information wasn't dismissed. How can they decide that?
I don't understand your question.
I just wonder
I
how
do.
can the state's attorney decide not to take the case?
The state's attorney decides what goes to the court and what doesn't. We don't. We put in an affidavit with a request. If our affidavit is not sufficient, she's gonna give it back to us and say, do your job. And then we can request again.
That sounds like you need to take that one offline.
Take that to your case manager.
Another question.
Okay, this is from a couple foster parents that are not here right now. But I think the biggest thing, like she said over there, was communication. So I've had a lot of foster parents tell me if kids have been in the bed before, or if they went home and came back, like this past weekend. I think the biggest thing is if you guys know how these kids are, if they are little terrors that climbing walls, please be honest with us and help us. If they're naughty, just tell us. It's worse when if you guys don't be afraid to tell us about it.
Oh, I'm not afraid. I feel like I personally will tell you what you're getting, because if you're getting a surprise, that's gonna be hard for us to maintain your placement. And that's not helpful for anybody, right? Like, I hope that we're doing that, JD.
But it's not a responsibility. That's-
No, I get that as a foster parent, I have certain things I look for. And so I'm gonna try to get as much information from my perspective, which isn't complete because my wife has a lot of questions that she asks that I don't think about. But I know that when I find out about things, especially if in those first few days, when you guys communicate with me, communicate with the case manager, especially if it's a short-term placement, I wanna know those things so I can let the next foster parent know. And I know that's the same way that we all feel, because we don't want to have a bunch of transitions, because it's definitely traumatizing and it makes those behaviors worse, to be honest.
And that's another thing, if they do go somewhere else, why are we been told by case managers that we can't talk to that foster parent about this kid? Or if they get moved for a reason, if I can't handle them for like medical reasons, why can't I have contact with that foster parent and say, hey, just to let you know when they're at my house, they do this,
Okay, so you're being told that you can't speak to the other foster parent?
Or if they get moved somewhere, because I'm not talking to my life right now. They say it's not closed doors, but you're not supposed to talk to the foster parent about that child.
But to me, that should be up to the caseworker to relay all that information, correct me if I'm wrong, to relay all that information. That's a great question. I don't have a really good answer to that, but to me, it's be the caseworker's responsibility to relay that to the new foster parent, so that there is no, I mean, I know you wouldn't have any bias or anything like that, but just to kind of help with that, the process of the new home. Speaking to the fact of, that communication, it's kind of like when I would hire workers, I would tell my supervisors, this worker is great doing this, this, and this is what you can expect. It's just, it should happen. We should, in my opinion, let you know what the child is, what they're going through, what has happened to them, anything like that, so that you are better prepared to be able to work with them and help grow them.
I'm gonna say a lot of that's gonna come down to trust. And that if you as a foster parent don't trust that the case manager is communicating what needs to be communicated, you need to call Nicole. Because you should be able to trust that what you're telling us and the things that are important to go with that kid are going with that kid. And if it's not happening, Nicole needs to know so she can deal with it.
I also think that the responsibility doesn't just lie with us, Burleigh County and our zone. I also think the responsibility lies also with you as foster parents, also asking, hey, can you tell me a little bit of the background of this child? I think that's very important too, because I think it's a two-way street and it's working together as we are, or should be, a team in the best interest of the child. So I think it also lies back in the foster parents' lap too, both of our laps, to also seek to understand and ask questions. Hey, can you give me more information, background, history, family? That just helps you even be better foster parents, in my opinion.
And there will be always those instances where we have like an emergency removal and we know nothing. We know the kid's first name maybe, and that's it. And so we can only give you the information we have, but if that happens, there should be a really good follow-up conversation with the rest of that information, because we'll learn it, we just don't have it at 3 o'clock.
I just kind of had a question about legality, because I've gotten a lot of calls from this emergency line. And like, I seem to know more about the child than the foster parent who's, or the caseworker who's calling, because it's not their case, but I've had this kid before. So I'm just wondering, after hours, are you like caseworker 1? Do you have access to, if your caseworker 2 is on call, do they have access to caseworker 1's file? Or are they completely blind with just what the other foster parents or the other parents are saying? Because it seems like a lot of times, sometimes I have more information than the person who's calling me.
So that's a good question. When we're on call, if you call me about somebody else's case, I only know what they've told me, if we've had a conversation about it, if we staffed it as a team, or what's in our notes in frame. And so it's really dependent on what is in the system and what we know from having staffed it.
The CPS workers and in-home workers and the NJD are on call too. So a foster care worker might know a little bit about somebody else's case, but a CPS worker and in-home worker probably aren't.
And they can't legally get access, like you don't have a database.
They can, it's just that when we have an emergency and somebody's saying, I can't keep this child, or it's an emergency removal, that they just don't have time to read through all that. And when we're on call, sometimes there's multiple calls coming in too, and then you have to prioritize.
Speaking as somebody who's not a case manager, but still does on calls, I definitely have more of an idea when it's a foster child that we've talked about, or usually I've gotten a heads up from, hey, we may need a home. So that's where I'm gonna know more. But when it comes to those in-home and those CPS case managers, even if they had access to those files, especially the stuff that's recent, that really is more relevant, they're not gonna know a whole lot, because those case notes aren't gonna be, like, the day it happens isn't the day it gets put in. It's gonna take a little bit. And I know even when I'm looking for placement, sometimes I'll look in frame, because when I see stuff in there that I think is pertinent, then I try to let people know, but it's not, it's not gonna happen right away, and it depends on the caseworker on how quickly they're able to get them in. Or, you know, if you have 3 cases that blow up at the same time, it's not gonna happen for a week. It's gonna take a little bit of time.
Is there a way, like Crystal was saying, like a database, you could like filter down, like boy, girl,
No.
ages 0 to 3, you know, whatever, 13, whatever. So a 13-year-old girl comes in here, you can like dial it down and look at that frame to see what behaviors there are. We can look them up by their name.
Oh.
We can do that and their birth dates, as long as we have that. But our system as a whole does not, it's not that kind of a database. Kudos to you, JD, for sending out those emails when you do say like, these are the behaviors that we know of, and getting feedback from the foster parents when these kids have been in the house so that we could pass the message on. I think it's
So Amber, is your question like, when they're trying to find a placement, is there a database to search for who can take what type of placement?
well, that's a good question too, but like Crystal, when she's dealing with these emergency, you know, these kids that are coming in on emergency, and I got one too, and we actually shared it that weekend, but it's like, can you just go and say, you know, 10-year-old boy, whatever, and these are his behaviors. Okay, well, I know he's not good with other kids, or I know he's good with other kids. Maybe I should go Crystal, she has other kids at the moment. Don't go Amber because she's got 10.
So there's kind of two parts. So the first one I'll say is that frame, the current system that is supposed to be a case management system connects with CC-WIPS, which is what pays you, the payment system. That's all getting replaced. It's clunky, it's old, it's not user friendly. It is very hard to log in from home and grab the information you need. It's built on a mainframe, so if there's any like IT people in here, it's gross, it's gross. I'm just gonna, it's gross. It's like green and black dot, no, I don't know what it looks like, but it's, it is a little prettier, but that is being replaced. It is not a easier short-term replacement. It is a 3 to 4 year project, and they're doing it in phases. So it's kicked off. The light at the end of the tunnel is, I mean, it will be so much better, and we actually hope there's a foster parent portal side to that as well. Hope. But the other part that you talked about, like being able to filter like boy, girl. So we are building a database of foster parents. So as you guys know, there's no foster licensing system. So there's not like a place you can go to apply to be a foster parent and it tracks. That is, we are building a, what I call short-term solution for that, for the licensors to use. So that any licensor in the state can put in, 10-year-old girl that is currently taking placements and see all the foster homes that are available. And right now that is pretty clunky. It exists like in a Word document or Excel spreadsheet. So that will exist as well. And it'll include things like behaviors you're okay with, behaviors that are not acceptable. Do you have pets? Do you live in a rural setting? It has kind of the whole parameters of everything you'd want to know in a placement, so.
At this time, at this time, we have a spreadsheet that JE keeps up with all of your guys' information on it. And quite honestly, we have so few foster homes that we're just gonna call everybody that has an opening when we're having an emergency. We ask JD, he gives us a list every weekend, like, these are the people who have openings and are not on vacation. So, Brittany already got a call twice.
So I asked you a tough question and asked for your honesty so that they said 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna be the last person. No, and I know there's Warren County or Three Rivers here, so, and I will test this. You have the cream of the crop of foster parents for this county. We're a very tight knit group. I can do a 6-degree separation of Kevin Bacon from everybody in here. I really can. I might have had their kid, it might have been their friend that recruited him. You had one of my kids, I know you had kids, I've seen, and we are a tight knit group. If she says on our Facebook page, I just got a newborn, I have nothing, she will be supplied within 2 hours guaranteed from us. So we are doing it because we truly do care. It's not for the money because it's not that great, but it is, you can't make it a career. But you do have very kind, very loving foster parents in this room and online and out there who couldn't make it tonight that do want to do this for the right reasons. So you're starting on a good foot with that. And I will say you do have some very good case managers too that do work very hard for us, but there is some rifts there and you know that as well. So the end from Kelly Carr.
But get in with, you asked for our help too, and
We've asked for our help too. We also want to reach out to, and I can't keep asking for help, but as you mentioned, I have just observed these 3 weeks. The staff, is wow. Some of them do. Yes, there are some rifts, and part of my job is to help repair that or help get staff with excellence or things like that. And so we are a little short-staffed, and hard decisions and tough decisions have to be made for the benefit of the organization to make them better for you. But there are some things that I would like to have help with. I know that we do
transport a lot of the kids to all these different things, because I know jobs and different things like that, but maybe you can give me some ideas of for us to do our job effectively, and if we don't have enough resources right now to kind of keep transporting 4 or 5 hours a day, can you help me with some ideas of how we could do that where my staff that we don't have enough of can help, but also the foster parents can help too with that transporting some of the things that they can take? Are there some ideas that you can give me that we could work to do that together?
Your idea is too big for right now.
For the transport idea, when I was licensed in Grand Forks County, they actually had a foster parent licensed, and all he did was transport, so all the kids knew him. He was like a single man, he didn't take any kids home, but that's all he did. So they licensed him like a foster parent, but 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, he just, okay, pick your Timmy up and take him to your orthodontist, and then I'll go pick.
Are you agreeing to that then?
We use crystals too much.
How did he get paid?
He had a band.
I think
If he's not taking placement, how do you get paid? Grand Forks, you can figure that
Because
out.
Cass County has 2 paid transporter positions, and that's all they do is transport. It's our highest turnover position, like 276% turnover.
So I know that I can't personally take in a ton of foster kids at a time. I just know my limits, but I can transport. I got a minivan and I got kids that like to talk in the car. So you could open it up to other foster parents, and I mean, I stay home. So, I mean, there's a resource right there.
Because we're having, we have to transport it, is that right?
If all of my staff is transporting, and we had a meeting and they show me their schedule, and if they have to take them one place and then this place, they're spending 3 to 4 hours transporting, and then you aren't getting the best excellent care that I'd like to see my staff give you. And that's what's most challenging right now for us, that I need to look at other resources to help. And so please give me a call if you're willing to do that. I need to speak with, my upper level to see how I can feasibly do it and how I can do that to make it all work, but I don't want to add anything more on you, because you are great. You are a close knit from my observation and listening. You are a big family, but you can't keep asking too. I have to be very careful of that, because you have a lot already on your plate also. And so I'm just trying to be sensitive to that too, but also seek your advice on what we could do together. I know our time's probably done.
If anyone has after school times, if they're available to help with transports, please reach out. Please, that's our.
And one thing I just did after 18 years was with supervised or unsupervised visits. I'm actually taking the children to the parent and having supervised visits, which not so much cared for, but if it's unsupervised and it's on my time after hours, that makes a lot of big difference, because I can go drop them off, go do my grocery shopping, come back, pick them up. So it depends if it has to be supervised visits or unsupervised.
I appreciate you, Mary Jo.
That's our deal, Mary Jo.
Yeah.
Leslie, can you please tell everyone, pajamas, socks, underwear, please, I don't wanna take 0 home, not a.
I don't think the online people need to know about the pajamas, socks, underwear, but yeah, take your fill, pajamas, socks, underwear, stock your closet for the next kid that comes in the age ranges that you take, so, cause hello, do we ever get socks and underwear?
Never the right size.
No. No, so, yeah, take them home. Appreciate you all being here tonight and the dialogue and just the education and the conversation we had tonight. So take your kids home with you, they're over there. All right, take your kids home with you. And do I have anything else? Oh, if there's extra pizza, take it home. Yeah, it's out there. So if you want a box, take a box. Yeah, you can have some pizza. Save one for her. Next meeting, second Tuesday of November, we are going to be pushing out some bylaw updates that we're going to be asking you guys to take a look so we can make a vote on some of those changes that are just necessary at this point.
in where we're at, and what's my last name?
From Kikwa will be here.
Yeah, Ikwa?
And then Harmony from the cultural liaison. will be here.
Okay, so, and I know some of you have been asking for that topic, so here it comes. And then we will be, just so you know, the end of the year, we have been doing our business meeting sort of January. We want to slide that into December and vote on our new officers so that they can start and get a full calendar year in their role, and we just think that that works better
You
for
guys
us.
look for the Facebook stuff, because we have an idea of maybe putting an opportunity to buy like a foster care t-shirt. So we can, get some funds, stuff like that, so we just like order and I don't know, deliver at meetings or mail to or whatever, but watch the Facebook stuff.